Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of JKL Media, your podcast all about everything. It's whatever we feel like talking about.
Everywhere, everything at once.
Yes, that's right. I am one of your hosts, Jesse Jackson, joining me on this at the break room at the
Amaya.
Yeah, Amaya is Lou.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our reality.
Yes, and the podcast mom, Karen.
Hi, everyone.
So we are in the middle of our discussion of devs. So this is our second. We'll be covering episode 1.3 and 1.4, and we're going to let Karen take it away.
Okay, hi, everyone. We're talking about episodes 3 and 4 of devs. We're really starting to get into an interesting story here, so I hope you guys have enjoyed these 2 episodes as well, and you're not chomping at the bit to watch the 5th one.
I am.
Okay, good. I guess that's good.
I am too.
Okay, good. Yeah, because of that last scene in the 4th episode, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Plus, it's been 2 weeks, so.
I know. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
So, first of all, before we get into it, I want to talk about the list of the backwards projections that were in the cold open of episode 3. It's hard to make out some of these, so I wanted to count them down. We get pre-human cave writing, partially built pyramids, the crucifixion of Jesus, Roman army marching, and that was the subject of some debate on Reddit until someone identified the weapons they were holding as Roman. So it's a Roman army marching, Joan of Arc, Abraham Lincoln giving the Gettysburg Address. And then we see, getting into the show part, we see Forrest's daughter, Amaya, Sergei being suffocated, and then Lily posting the note to her window, which segues into our very adult scene of Rule 34. If something exists, then someone has done porn of it. So the devs are watching Marilyn Monroe having sex with Arthur Miller. And thankfully it's blurry, or, I wouldn't have recommended the show to you guys to watch. But I did think the scene was pretty funny and not out of character for someone in that position. I mean, that's a horn dog thing to do, and developers are kind of horn dogs. So yeah,
stereotype.
Sorry.
So what I wanted to talk about is when we discussed this last time, we talked about how, and I did not mention, we talked about trying to watch HBO back when it was the old cable.
Yeah,
it was scrambled. I thought, or you found the adult channel,
the Playboy channel, yeah,
and you tried to watch a little bit that when you were 17 or 18, and so that's exactly what they were doing.
Yep.
And I'm embarrassed to admit that I go, oh, that's kind of intriguing.
Yeah.
You don't, you realize in theory, CNN had just done as we're recording this a month or so ago, a great Marilyn Monroe documentary covering all her life. And so you knew that she had ended up being married to Arthur Miller, and you go, I had not gone to that. That means this intellectual got to have sex with what many would consider the sexiest woman in the world. And so I agree it's inappropriate, but I don't know if I would have marched out of the room if someone else had dialed that in, right? I'd be like,
I'm a girl, as you guys know. And I wouldn't have left the room either. I would have been fascinated by it. It is somewhat newsworthy, but I do feel like it was an invasion of privacy. Even though they're both dead, long dead now, it's still, you shouldn't be seeing stuff like that. But, it's horn dogs. That's all I can say.
Now, Karen, they make a point of, she says, don't break the rules. And they look and go, she's one to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Have we seen how Katie has broken the rules
Yes.
too much yet? We have?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we know that she's looked into the future, and that's just implied in these episodes, and especially in episode 4, where she and Forrest have the conversation about looking into the future. And this episode 3, I thought was good, but it set up stuff for episode 4, which was a much better episode, in my opinion. Lou told me something last week. Jesse was off last week, so Lou and I recorded an episode of the Stephen King podcast, and we were talking just surface stuff about the episodes and how Lily was overacting and he didn't like how she was acting. And then he realized she was doing it on purpose to fool Kenton. And then he was like, oh, okay, I get it. So yeah, I thought her acting was pretty good, and where I could understand where it would fool Kenton and how he took her to the psychiatrist in the next episode. But I think the most notable thing about this episode is the fact that Lily and Jamie rewatched the video of Sergei committing suicide. So what did you guys think of that development and seeing the actual footage rolled back?
Well, as Karen just alluded to, we did talk about this on the surface level. So the opening scenes with I didn't catch all those references that you gave us. So
it's hard to catch.
Yeah. But it was strangely like there's that push-pull thing, like you're totally engrossed by what you're seeing, but at the same time you're a little bit repelled because it's very, very voyeuristic. So especially the Marilyn Monroe sequence, once now they've got the resolution figured out. I don't know if they're going to go back to that scene or not.
Right.
But anyhow, so that was all that was a great cold open, showing us those glimpses, and like especially seeing like Jesus on the cross. That was very powerful stuff. And we get to learn about the rules, that we don't invade privacy and we don't look forward. And it was very funny that like she mentioned that anytime new technology is developed, the thing that tends to drive it is porn. Like that was for like videotapes and for the internet. And we're seeing it with this reality quantum computer. So that's a very human thing, and I think that really grounds the show in a good way. It's not the most flattering view of humanity, but it's also very true. So I did like that. And then as I alluded to you, up until the first 2 episodes, I'm not really sold on Lily. She's coming across as rather cold. And I almost thought at this point, when she has that big emotional breakdown talking to Denton about Sergei's suicide, I almost thought that, oh boy, this character is like totally going down the drain for me. I don't like this scene. I don't like the way she's acting. And thank God it was all an act for her just to get Denton out of the room so that her friend could copy his hard drive contents or whatever that she was looking for. So that worked out really well. And that scene made me uncomfortable because I'm not great with heights. And just the way Denton walks out on that ledge, and he's just going down the aisleway at Walmart or something like that.
Sauntering.
Yeah. I was just like, oh, this is just creeping me out. Like, let's get off the ledge and then we can continue conversation. So I really like that. And it was, so far, this play by Lily was the turning point of the series for me. Now I'm bought into this character. She's got some spine and she's got feelings. And so that really opened up the show for me, because up till now it's been mostly an intellectual exercise for me, but her ploy really bought me into her character, and I really liked how that played out.
Awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that same thing when he's walking, and I realized there is all of us, at least as a kid, I can remember you walk on a plank that's between 2 cinder blocks, and you can successfully do it. If you can do it 1 inch from the ground, you can do it for a foot from the ground, you can do it 5 foot from the ground, right? But the idea is your brain, it isn't the same thing. And I was very nervous as well, just this, okay, let's do this. And he walks quickly. like the same way. And I'm like, look, man, I can't do that on a
Right.
sidewalk. I'm so clumsy. I can't, much less doing this. I agree with you. Lily has been a little detached. We talked about last time that her going to her ex-boyfriend, asking for help, she just seems a little cold. And I assume that is because she's in shock still to this thing, processing the loss of her boyfriend. Because you think about it, right? She not only did she lost her boyfriend, then she find out that he committed suicide. Then she finds out he's a Russian business spy. And now then we determined that he may not have even committed suicide. There's a cover-up. So she does have a lot of emotional things pushing to her. So I'm not going to criticize Sonia. Is that how you'd say her name?
I don't know how you pronounce her last name.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, the actress who's playing it, I think there is enough in there that she's covering that, a lot of baggage. I agree with you. I really didn't know what they were planning to do. And when she was going crazy and quote unquote, and throwing this emotional thought and everything was, oh, hey, what's going on? And then when you saw the whole typical scene of, oh, let's put a flash drive and download, which I always laugh because, okay, if you put a flash drive in the computer, like, what do you know how to download? And by the way, if you're just going to do the whole hard drive, one, you don't have a big enough flash drive, and two, it takes way longer than you want. To ask anyone who's doing a backup. But handwave,
even just that video would have taken much longer than she had in there. And how would she know where the video is? But handwave.
Yeah. But I did love their scenes in the car where they're all happy they got away with it. And then skipping ahead to the next episode, but she's put herself in a box, right? She's lied that she's had this. Then the psychiatrist, which, by the way, I never would trust a company psychiatrist. And this whole, I need to get an invoice. So I would have had a healthy dose of skepticism. And so she's set herself in a trap.
Yeah, I really found the part where she and Jamie are watching the video interesting, because Jamie sees it from an outsider's perspective. And when he found the flames, and it's because Lily paused it that she couldn't watch it anymore. She paused it. That's why he noticed that the flames were being copied and pasted on, which is a rookie mistake, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that he sees that the flames are generated. And I thought it was pretty cool that it's just through that coincidence that Lily has to pause it, that he notices that the flames are copy pasted on and I'm only saying copy pasted because that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
But they're generated flames. And then seeing the actual, and it's not them watching it, it's us seeing what happened that night. On the other video of Kenton walking backwards with his team and whatever, actually dumping his body out, pouring the gasoline on and setting him on fire. And that's only to present his body to Lily. It has nothing to do with the video. None of that was on video.
Exactly.
So yeah, I thought that was really cool. And the fact that that's how they showed us what happened by showing us black and white video, I thought was pretty cool. The imagery in this episode is all on screen. I mean, all the very striking video is on a screen. The video, the backwards video, all the watching of the stuff at the beginning, which, by the way, I had nightmares about Joan of Arc after I watched this, because that, I think, was the most wrenching for me, seeing her screaming as she's burned. And that garbled speech of hers. All of that was like eerie. And seeing everything played out on screens, I think, is really cool for a show about technology.
I want to stress, you had mentioned that. I loved the idea that one, it wasn't in English, right? Because it wouldn't have been. You talk all the time, or like in history, they'll talk about Joan of Arc being this great champion, and to humanize it, that she is screaming as the flames go, really strong.
Yeah.
And you know, and really nice. Last time we had talked, I said it looks like we're seeing the crucifixion, and you said yes, it is, Jesse. That's not spoilers to know. And then to come right away with that again was just really well done.
And the fact that in the last episode that we talked about, they had gone back 2,000 years and thought that was the apex, and now we see they've gone back to like caveman times.
Yeah,
it's showing you how things are progressing fast in the lab.
And I just want to touch a little bit more on like the Lily character. I don't know if it was intentional or just was a fortunate happenstance that they set her up as this cold character for the first 2 episodes, and then had this like reveal moment for her, more of her inner character in this episode. But it certainly really played off well. I really I can't emphasize how important that was to me for that character to have that moment. The other tension that was there that I really liked is, and I don't know if this senator is coming back in this series or not, and maybe that was just a setup, but I love the tension between Denton and the other security guy. They apparently know each other, and the senator security guy is jealous of Kenton because he thinks he's like, do you ever miss it and all this? And after that incident on the ledge, he's like, you're so lucky. But the tension was there, like, because the senator is showing up, is Forrest going to be forced to do something to her? And will this Kenton guy have to actually dispose of this other security guy? So there was all this extra little tension that was going on there that still might happen further in the series. I don't know if the senator comes back or not.
Right. Yeah. Let's talk about the senator showing up. She is emphasizing that Forrest is having breakthroughs that no one else is having.
Yeah, it really was.
And holding them close to his vest. The fact that he is cagey. Are you predicting the weather? Sure. I mean, that's not a lie. He could predict the weather if he wanted to. And I love that he just says it's a prediction algorithm.
Yeah.
That is so indicative of things that happen in the tech industry. And not just in the tech industry, but like background, I worked for MCI for a long time. MCI is the telephone company, for those of you who don't know, back in the day. And I actually helped create the presentation slides for 1-800-COLLECT. And I had to sign 2 NDAs in order to help create that, because it was going to be their big thing. And they didn't want anyone else knowing about it or anything. So not just the tech industry, but there's a lot of industries that make sure that nothing gets out. He is 10 levels above that when it comes to, I mean, that whole devs area out there in the forest. But it's extreme what he's doing. And I understand why the senator comes, because the government's probably pressuring her because of her connection to Forrest to, hey, let's get some of this technology. Let's let our agencies have it. We really need to have it. And I like that he downplays it, and let's not give it to the government. I'm all for that, not giving it to the government. I don't think they should have this technology at all.
Yeah.
So let's talk about his dynamic with the senator, and also the dynamic with Kenton and this other guy. I thought it was cool that there were counterparts to each. Like there was like a secretary, quote unquote, and then this bodyguard. And the fact that when the bodyguard gets off of the helicopter, they're like, hey, everyone's talking to each other. And I didn't think that Kenton knew this guy ahead of time. I think that it was just like a brotherhood bond thing of bodyguards. And I feel like Kenton thought he was way better than this guy through the whole thing. That, you know, whatever, I don't care what you're saying, sure, whatever. And the fact that they both have a military background, I think also gave them something in common. Kenton didn't think they had anything in common, but the other guy does definitely. So what do you think about those scenes?
I think that they actually known each other somehow or another, either because the senator visits routinely. And so I get the feeling of, hey, let's go grab a cup of coffee while our bosses talk.
Mhm.
And so over the years, maybe they ran into each other when they both were in the military, whatever. So the way he says, do you miss it? That's when I thought maybe that is the reason why. That is my thought on it. The idea of do you miss it and everything going, most people always, the other side, the grass is always greener, right? Where like, hey, you don't know what this is like, where I have to babysit a senator, and you're like, oh, trust me, babysitting this billionaire, no walk in the park. So that's where I thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that whole other level of Ken's doing a lot of stuff that no one knows about.
Yes.
So I think he feels like he has a better job than this other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I did pick up on the fact that you said, Karen, like I thought the senator's bodyguard thought he was better than Kenton, because he's all snazzy, dressed up in a suit, and he's trim, and Denton's the rumpled custodial.
Mm-hmm.
But I found it funny that the guy says, don't you miss it? And Kenton said no.
Yeah, exactly.
I really like that. As to the senator, I struggled with those scenes because I understand that government is not always diligent in how their money is spent, and they don't properly account for everything. But given the amount of money that he must be spending, the fact that she has really no clue as to what he's accomplished struck me as extremely odd. So I found that a little suspicious, or maybe story convenient. I don't know, but I mean, he can only deflect for so long. When she could just say, I want to see your facility. I want to see this thing. I can't believe that there's that in the dark about what he's gotten up to so far.
Well, he has every right to say no, though.
Well, then they have every right to cut his funding too.
Correct.
So, but usually and I don't know how that's negotiated between governments and contractors, but usually governments want full access to everything as well. So they'll give you some leeway to uninterrupted, but at a certain point they have checkpoints where you go, okay, now we're coming in, you're gonna put everything that you've got accomplished on the table. And so maybe I'm being naive about that, but I just don't believe that the government can be that in the dark about what is going on with this. This is not a this is not a black book operation. This is a public or private company, but once they're have a relationship with the government, they have to provide the goods occasionally.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little suspect. But.
I have two thoughts on that. One, he does mention at the end of the episode that he donates a lot of money to her campaign, which to me could mean that she is glossing over stuff for her bosses, but it's come to the point.
Yeah, that's fine for her, but the rest of the government is going to be hey, where's all this money going? And
I think the other thing is that he does have a public face. He has things that he's developing to show, hey, Amaya does this and this and this that people do know about. But he has the devs division that is completely top secret. So, and again, this is my impression at this point, is that he has phones and watches, Amaya branded tablets and all that stuff. And that this other project is just, hey, I'm developing this. And it's top secret. I can't tell anyone.
Yeah. I picture him Steve Jobs-ish. Right?
Yeah.
So he's loved.
Hippie Steve Jobs.
Yeah. He is just loved. And I know when Steve Jobs passed away, I was working at RealPage, and our CEO sent out an email talking about how sad it was that he was so important to the industry, and was actually sad about it that he sent a company email out. So I think that maybe he's got this Teflon shield around him that Peace can be a little bit arrogant, like, nope, I can do whatever I want.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might well be, but if it's not in the show, and it
You don't
hasn't
know
been,
about
it,
it.
it
Absolutely
hasn't
fair,
it
very
hasn't
fair,
been in the
yes.
show yet. They haven't
Yep.
shown him interacting with the public, so
Yeah.
we
Right.
have to project that, and
Right.
that's something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a small point, really, and
Yeah.
it's not the main thrust of the series either. But it's just it's just a little weird. That's all.
Right.
Yeah, no,
right.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I
think
agree.
that's
I see where you have an issue with it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm just offering theories about
Yep.
why it might be.
Yeah,
Yep.
sure. And that's what we do here, right? We
Right.
have that fun. Yeah.
Mhm.
So can we move on to episode 4, or did you have anything else about episode
Well,
3?
just two quick things. I
Sure.
did like the funny bit with, why don't you guys look at the grassy knoll, and he goes, been there,
Yeah.
done that. It
Yeah.
was Oswald. I thought
Right.
that
Yeah.
was- that's funny. All the conspiracy theorists are, no,
Yeah.
no. And then,
Yeah.
as you mentioned with the tape with Kenton and his crew putting the body in there, it was interesting that they chose to play that backwards. I don't know why they did it, but maybe it was just to make it more, to keep, just sort of perk your ears up a little bit. But
Yeah.
there was something eerie about
Mhm.
watching that all being played out in reverse. So that
Yeah.
was kind of cool. So I first 2 episodes, I was kind of like, I love the idea of this series, and I'm not really sure where it's going.
Yeah.
This one really got me in another level with the idea, and the character work was really good in this one. So when we get into the next episode, the show is really starting to get into second gear, and things are going to really start ramping up.
Yeah,
I agree.
I
Yeah.
agree. Yep. All right, so let's talk about episode 4, where they start with an earthquake, which I thought was cool. I actually loved earthquakes when I lived in California.
Okay.
I lived there for my first 16 years. My brother was terrified. Whenever there was an earthquake, he'd run around the house, get in a doorway, get in a doorway. And I would just sit on the couch and feel everything doing this in the house, and was like, yeah, that's about a 3.0, trying to guess what it
I
is.
love this. That is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, we moved to the East Coast when I was 16. And I guess about 5 years ago, when I was up in Virginia, we had a small earthquake. And I did not feel the same way about it.
Mhm.
I was like, okay, is this really an earthquake? My ears are going crazy. So I was a little more alarmed as an adult
Okay.
than I was as a kid. But it's cool that they showed the same reaction that I used to have, of just sitting there waiting it out. And the fact that they're in danger somewhat, they are suspended by magnets above the ground in a glass cube.
Hmm.
So if that does fall, they're all dead.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no coming back from that. But the fact that they just sit there, and this is where we figure out for sure that Katie already knew that everything was going to be okay. She has seen forward enough to know that that cube is still there later on. And I thought that was a cool way to show that. They know that she's looking into the future.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. I think it's open to interpretation. It could just be her character as well. I like it. It makes sense what you're saying, but I'm not still convinced. But I mean, the temptation is just too great not to look
Right.
into the future as well, right? Because,
Right.
But actually we are, because we see Lily in the future.
Yep.
That's right. You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. No. Yeah. I just corrected.
Yeah, she
myself.
denies it. She denies it at that point, but she is definitely looking
Yeah,
into the
her and
future.
Forrest
Yeah.
have looked into the future because
Yeah.
we see Lily crawling there.
And,
Yep.
and how do you not, like,
yeah, for
one
sure.
of the things, right, is you're going to, absolutely, I'm going to look and see a sex tape, a girl, like one of the ultimate celebrity sex tapes. Of course, I'm going to sit there and say, oh, well, what is going on? And I was, because just everything else going on, I had not taken time to watch Apple TV's Foundation. And so I'm 2 episodes in, and, the whole idea, you can't tell individual futures, you could just tell group futures. It seems like this, you can see individual futures, right? That's
Yeah.
what I
Mhm.
get the feeling, right?
Yep, you can
Mhm.
pinpoint.
Yeah. Which is,
And I don't know whether it's like on a map where you can just pick the location. That's what I have in my mind, that you can pick like Hollywood
yeah,
and type in Marilyn Monroe and like a Google search engine for the past.
Mhm.
But yeah, the fact that she looks to where Lily might be in the future, scans around and finds Lily
yeah,
crawling on the pavement. And she and Forrest have a chat about that there's nothing we can do. That's already happened.
yeah.
And they have that, his allegory is tram lines,
Hmm.
because like
Yep.
train tracks or tram lines, you're on a fixed path. And he doesn't want to move from that fixed path. And there's lots of reasons for that. But in this episode, we kind of see part of why. We have the tram line, the conversation between Katie and Forrest, where he says, well, what if you don't move? What if you cross your arms instead of, moving your arm
Yeah.
in a certain way? And she dismisses that immediately as whatever we see up there, that's already done. The choice has already been made.
Yeah.
So at that point, I think the viewer decides in their mind whether they side with Forrest or Katie, or whether they're not sure.
Mhm.
So what do you guys think about the tram lines theory?
Well, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
because something happens later on in the episode, I guess we'll talk about. But this whole, because they haven't laid out the ground rules for us yet, you can look at it several different ways, and my mind is still open as to whether it's locked or fluid. So that's where I'm sitting at right now.
Yeah. Even though at the very first episode where he tells Sergio, this is, for what it's worth, nothing, this was inedible. This was going to happen. There's nothing else you could do. Just accept your fate. And that's always difficult to believe, right? I just finished watching Stephen Moffat's Time Traveler's Wife. And there is a great scene where the older traveler is talking to the younger traveler, and he says, you can't change the past. Like, yeah, you can. He says, in just a few minutes, you're going to be running to that direction. No, I won't. And spoilers, I won't tell why, but something happens and he does exactly what you would thought. Is just, so I agree with Lou. I don't know, is this a predestination, or do we talk about, and I want to get, when we're in the next episode, parallel worlds, right? The idea of that this is, if you're using
the
train
multiverse,
tracks, are there multiple train tracks that are parallel that cross each other?
Yeah, and the prevailing theory is that, yes, if there's a choice to be made, it's been made both ways. Every way you can make the decision, it's been made. And that's the theory, at least, that, if you cough in this minute, there's also a universe where you haven't coughed.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure either about the delineation between determinism and free will. I'd like to think it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
That there's a general future for which we're destined, but in between we can make our own determinations. And again, that's just me. That's not, that has nothing to do with the show.
Right.
I just thought we'd discuss that.
Yeah, it's like that conversation Gandalf had with Frodo about you can only decide what you can do with your time, and all the events around you are still going to happen, kind of thing. So
exactly,
that's where I sit right now, and not just in the show, but within my
in real life,
personal philosophy of real life as well.
Yeah. Okay, so Lily finally, she wakes up. She tells Jamie at Jamie's house, she tells Jamie, we can't involve the cops or the FBI. We can't, because then they'll kill me, which I think is interesting, coming right after we see her death on screen.
Yeah.
That she says they're going to kill me. When she comes home, Kenton's there waiting for her to take her to her appointment. And Kenton, like we said, just a few minutes ago, takes her to the company psychiatrist, who is super shady. I mean super shady from the first time we see him.
Yeah.
In this episode. I would not go into that room. If I went into the room with him, I would not say a word. I would just be like, I don't want to talk.
Yeah.
And that would be it for me. So yeah, there's that. Then they leave and she realizes he's not taking her home. He reveals that he knows she's been faking and he's going to take her somewhere and kill her. So I think she realizes in that moment, it doesn't matter what she does, they're going to try and kill her. So she might as well go to the police or whatever. So what did you think of her decisions in all of those kind of moments? The fact that she wrecks the car, all that stuff.
As a viewer, I was happy to see her be proactive, but it also at the same time felt very television-y.
Yeah.
Who would, in their right mind, cause their car to crash on a high-speed highway? And so that was.
Yeah, but she doesn't have much to lose, right?
This is true, but
yeah.
I think she would have waited at least till she got off the highway. But again, that's neither there nor there. But I did like the fact that she was proactive, so I rolled with it quite nicely. The fact that she does all that, and yet still in the end, like Kenton is not. This guy's nobody to fool around with. He still catches up with her. So I from a dramatic point of view, I enjoyed it. I was a little iffy on the execution of it from when it happened, not as to how it happened, but the stunt work and everything there was top notch. It was really well done, and the impact was quite the impact. So yeah, that was pretty well done.
I like that. Now my question is, why did she get in the car? Right? Like I'm screaming, don't get in the car, don't get in the car. What was there on Chuck? It's never safe in the van. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're like, don't get in the car. Don't get in the car. And I do know she felt pressured. And I'm sure it would have been like, oh, I'll meet you there. I have somewhere to go afterwards or something. One of the things that I've enjoyed about this series is, as we just talked about, is it inevitable or is it? As Lily goes through this, I agree with her decisions, but even though it's the decision I would have done, it still doesn't work out well for her. In other words, it is she keeps moving and making a turn, and it's a dead end. Okay, well maybe I should have did this. Oh, it's a dead end, where you truly feel like you're being forced to come to a place where you don't. I thought the whole wrecking the car was great. A really fun scene. I did laugh at everyone screaming at them. Kenton just can't die. He is like, just this cockroach
Terminator.
that just will not go away. So I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was knocked out just enough for Lily to get away.
Yeah.
I mean, is this guy, he's like bulletproof, but also it's like, in that moment. But then he has a renewed vigor to get with her. I think he's like a dog with a bone at this point. He wants to get her out of the way. She's a threat.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't have been a threat if he hadn't taken the steps that he had taken. So again, we're talking about determinism. Kenton did all these things, which led up to Lily having it out for him and Kenton having it out for her. I thought it was cool that she finally decided at the end, I'm going to call the police. And then that backfires on her as well. Kenton has gotten back with the psychiatrist and decided they're going to commit her. And we'll talk about Lyndon in a minute, but I love that last scene where Kenton is just pushing Jamie. Like he's shown up in the apartment, shuts the door and pushes Jamie aside. And that's the last scene in that episode is, oh, what's he going to do to Jamie?
With the implication that, is he going to kill him or what?
I don't know. Kenton, he could be doing anything. He's definitely going to menace him. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know that he's not in it for just shits and giggles.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
But there's definitely, he is not playing around.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about Lyndon. Lyndon has come up with a way to clean up the sound so that you can hear what's happening in real without it being blurry. And how Kenton has done that is taken away the pinpoint accuracy and left it in the, can we get audio from anywhere that matches up to this scene, quote unquote. And I thought that was an interesting way to explain how Lyndon did that he is actually bridging the multiverse in order to get the audio for this. And everyone loves, such a breakthrough. Yay, let's celebrate. And that is not the attitude of Forrest at all. Forrest fires him. And the conversation that Lyndon and Stuart have as Stuart is leaving is also very telling. Stuart knows what the company is going to do. If Lyndon does not get off the property, he's in danger.
Yeah.
So we also see that a lot of the people that are in the know in the company know about the shady businesses that's been going on. So what did you guys think about Lyndon's solution to clearing up the audio?
Well, I didn't understand it the way that you just explained it, but the way you explained it answers my question, because I didn't understand that he had done anything of that nature. I thought he had just applied a different filtering algorithm to clear up the static from what they were seeing, not opening it up to the multiverse. So I didn't.
He's picked up sound from wherever he can get it and cleared it up.
Right. So theoretically, that sound could be actually the sound of what they're looking at,
right,
as opposed to coming from a multiverse. So
right.
I was confused about that, and I didn't understand why Forrest was getting so upset, because this is what they wanted to accomplish, right?
Kind of.
It's now he can get a clear image. And then you start running into Occam's razor, like a difference which is no difference is no difference. So if you can't tell one version from another, and how do you even know that the version that you were looking at to begin with was the right version? So like there's all this, like his reactions really caught me off guard. I'm sure the show's planned it that way, because I thought he'd be overjoyed that they now have now they can get these crystal clear images. And then you just want him to run back all those scenes from the beginning of the episode again.
Right.
And I don't know what we're going to get to see with this cleared up technology. And from the character side, it was, as I mentioned in a previous episode, it was funny to see that how the boy and the older Dev, they seem to be at odds, but then you quickly realize in these next couple episodes that they're actually really quite close. And the older guy's trying to look out for Lyndon and protect him, and telling him, you have to go or you're going to meet the same fate as Sergei. So the whole, this was the crux of this episode. And going forward, I'm really curious to see how they're going to use this technology, or is he going to totally drop this new algorithm? I can't believe that Forrest will. Lyndon shows the cleaned up video of his daughter to him. And
no, that's Katie shows.
Katie does. Sorry.
No,
Katie
that's all right.
Katie shows a cleaned up video of his daughter to him, and he's totally emotionally stunned, devastated with her. So like, what is that going to do to his mindset, which has been questionable already up to this point in the series? So I'm really curious how this is going to play out now, because again, I still don't know whether or not they can not only alter the future, but can they somehow alter the past? And that's where I'm sitting right now.
Right.
So first off, I agree with you, Lou. The way you explain that, Karen, makes so much more sense, because I was going to ask, why is he so angry? What did they do so wrong that they fired him? It didn't make any sense to me. This should be a good thing. And then when he calls it a parlor trick, it's just like, well, what? That makes no sense. I don't know Forrest's end game. I'm not sure what he wants. Does he want to travel to the past so he can spend just one more day with his daughter? Does he want, because he didn't make enough videos of her, he wants to spend more time with her, to watch her? This seems, forget the fact that he killed someone. This is a very unhealthy obsession. This driving this
Do you think?
Billions of dollars in research for what end game, right? And
Right.
this seems to be all about his daughter. This is nothing. Everything is about anything else is just, as they say in Louisiana, lagniappe. Just whatever we get,
Mhm.
the idea.
And that means something extra,
Exactly.
right?
And yeah,
Yeah.
and when you watch For All Mankind, the series from Apple TV, the idea that the space race never ended because Russia got to the moon first, they show that technology grew. And so NASA ends up being a huge revenue system. It helps fund the government because it has so many patents and technology. Like we get electric cars so much quicker because of they had to do long-term batteries to be in this space. So the technology they're getting on this is certainly funding this research and making him a billionaire, but I don't know what he wants. I was shocked when okay, this is a parlor trick, you're fired. Not,
Mhm.
oh, you tried something different. Because if you remember the very first episode, do what you do. Do whatever creatively you could do. Go out there. And so instead of saying, yeah, this is a fun parlor trick, but we need to focus on this specific, because reality, this may not be, this is just a version of, and I want the reality. I want this to be a specific time. But no, you're fired. Here's your $10 million. Go. Now, as I talk about this, I am 63 years old, tired of working. So someone gave me $10 million and says, go away. I'm like, see ya.
See ya. Yep. I'm
I have
out.
Bruce Springsteen tickets to buy.
I'm
You
out.
know,
Yeah, exactly.
I have all these TV shows and books that are on my to-do list that I'm going to go. But there's also a reason why I'm not in a position where someone wants to pay me $10 million, because I'm not that
Right.
I'm not that driven. I'm not that talented. I'm not that focused. And so this is a bad situation for him. No, I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing this for this rush, this discovery. So I thought that was a really great twist. And as I said, I did not understand what was going on until the way you described it just there. So they should have given you let me fix up the script.
Right. It's only visible to me because I've seen it more than once.
Okay.
It's not from future episodes, so I'm not spoiling anything.
It's just
for
because you now know what's going on.
Right.
Okay.
He wants them to use this particular algorithm in order to clear things up. And Lyndon, went outside the parameters of that. And that's why he says, how do we know that's not our Jesus?
Yeah.
That's any Jesus, because you haven't used our algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how he said that. And in my head, I'm thinking, in the immortal words of one of our greatest philosophers, ski gas, echoed him. And of course, that would be Cartman from South Park. So yeah, I found that interesting as well, that he fired Lyndon. I was shocked when I first saw it. But again, as I'm watching it again, and from what they say, and Lyndon saying, I just stripped out our algorithm and I finally got it cleared up. And Forrest is like, well, that's not what I asked. I asked for you to use our algorithm and clear it up. And because you went outside the parameters, you're breaking the rules, out you go. And I also like that Stewart is his friend in this moment, that, hey, I know how it feels to want to work on this, but you can't play around. You got to get out of here.
Yeah. The other point, like Jesse said, like, we don't know Forrest's endgame, but we don't know Katie's endgame either. And she's breaking the rules all the time. Like, she clears up that image of of his daughter.
Right.
So I'm still thinking that and we don't, like, where's the mother? Where's his wife, Forrest's wife, in this as well? Like, she's not even being mentioned. So is she still alive or what? And I'm stuck on this from the first episode, but I still think that the end game here is to alternate reality so that this Maya never dies. But I don't know if that changing the future is one thing, changing the past is another. But they're all interrelated.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, if I had to guess, that's what I would think his end goal is, because he's obsessed. In my mind, they often talk about losing a child can two extremes.
Break up
You
a marriage.
really can unite you even closer, or you can break up, because it's just it is such a loss. So yeah, I am very curious what he wants to do. What is he trying to do? So yeah, great stuff.
If I had to guess, at this point in the show, Forrest is really just wants to see his daughter. But I don't know if Katie, is she in love with him secretly or something, and she's going to give him her daughter back. Like I feel that they have there's two different agendas going on here, because he's much more cautious, I guess you could say, where she's just jumping all over the place, doing whatever. I think that she's the real threat or worry in this series, or a catalyst. And I'm really curious to see where it goes. I can't even begin to guess what sort of events we're going to see from the quantum computer in the next episode, because now that they can see everything clearly, or is he going to shut it down? Like
I get
have
the
no
feeling
he's
going to shut it down. Like this is an abomination. You know,
I think he was going to, but now that he's seen his daughter so clearly, I don't know.
Do you bring back?
I don't know.
Do you then come back and go, hey, okay, all's forgiven. I'm sorry. I fired you.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That I don't know. This is great, because so often we watch series and we have a general idea of where it's going to go, but I have no clue.
Yeah.
What's going to happen next, which is excellent, and which made these last 2 weeks really. And I understand what you guys felt about with Midnight Mass when we had to take the occasional break.
Absolutely.
Well.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching the next two. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's it for these 2 episodes. I'm glad that it's left you wanting more. This is why I picked this series, because it is so out there.
Yeah.
And grounded in real life as well. So, and it's also esoteric in that, we can debate our philosophies on free will or determinism in the course of discussing a stupid TV show.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you guys are enjoying it.
I am. It was.
No, I was just going to say, once again, this is the blessing and the curse. Is there is so much great content out there that it's easy to miss something. I did not know this existed. I'd never heard of it, and I'm really, really glad you brought it up. It's been great.
Awesome.
Yeah. I had to kind of laugh. There's a EW interview with the cast and that, and Alex Garland was there, and the guy was asking, like, how far in the future is this? And he says, well, it's not that far, maybe 10 minutes. And then somebody in the cast said, or maybe it's 10 minutes past.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
10 minutes before. So who knows? So
making jokes about time travel.
Yeah.
Very cool. I like Alex Garland. I think he's fairly brilliant. Fantastic. Fairly brilliant in his storytelling. And I love that he decides, I'm going to tell a story and that's it. Then I move on to my next story. The only reason there isn't a season 2 of Devs is because he said, I'm done. That's it. We're all good.
Yeah. And that's just what streaming has brought to us, is these limited series, which were much more difficult to do. Like we had the mini series for a while,
right?
But then that became too prohibitive. And now the technology allows them to do these crazy things on the screen now that wasn't possible even like 5 years ago. Like, man, I think we mentioned before, like if you watch Star Trek Strange New Worlds, my God, the effects on that series just blow me away.
Yeah.
The sets are gorgeous. The effects are amazing.
Yeah. And
it's just unbelievable.
And you talk about that. I am at the age where I remember Rich Man, Poor Man. I remember, Roots.
North and South,
right? I remember these miniseries events.
Roots.
And
Roots,
and I also remember that when I've just gotten away from going to my comic shop every week and picking up comics just ended up for a lot of complicated reasons. But I used to love miniseries, right? Like, a limited series or a maxi series, because you got a beginning, a middle, and an end. And and I think great television series, for example, I think when like Buffy tried to tell a season-long story, yet left it where you could continue doing other episodes. I agree with you. There is a beauty to, I know there's not going to be a season 2. There is a discussion. I've written this book. If I decide to play with the characters a different way down the road, but if not, I gave you your story. And so that there's a lot of beauty to that.
Yeah, I dig that.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, we missed Centennial, which was amazing.
Oh, yes,
I love that.
Yeah.
All those, now you've put me in the mind of, hey, I got to go track down some of those old shows, but they won't hold up. I know they won't hold up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that we're getting all these new shows. And we have a backdrop right now, Lou and I, of devs with the girl in the forest, with Amaya in the forest. That's all computer generated. So anytime you see even a part of her, it's computer generated.
Yeah.
The story is that they found a girl and they filmed her from all different angles and her doing all kinds of things, blowing bubbles and all that stuff. And they just picked this really weird expression of hers to make into this statue of her in the forest. And he said, look, I know it's a weird image of her holding her hands up like that, but it was striking to me when I filmed the little girl, this face that she was making and the hand gestures. And that's why I picked this one image. And I also think it fits really well with the whole atmosphere of the show, that why would Forrest pick this picture of his daughter to put in the forest? It's just very strange. But yeah, I love the technology in this. I love that it seems like it can't be done, but also there's something in your mind that's like, can it be done?
Yeah.
I mean, that they're predicting like where a worm goes. And that's really believable to me.
Yeah.
That you could predict on past behavior, future behavior.
Yeah.
But this whole thing of looking into the past is, I don't know.
And the good thing is that they've cross-pollinated with the reality that technology is one thing, but human relationships are another. And at the core of this series, even with all this technology, it's still what human frailties and foibles in relationships is what's driving everything that's happening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, whether it's Lily and Sergey and being a spy, Lily and Jamie, Forrest and his past. Yeah. So and Kenton also with whatever is driving him. Also Katie, and with Katie, I'm not going to spoil anything, but we already know that Katie is fiercely loyal to Forrest.
Yeah.
Like to the point of fanaticism almost. She is just on it, doesn't care if she breaks the rules as long as it's for Forrest's benefit. And I find her a really fascinating character.
Yeah, especially because I love Allison Pill, and I just this whole, she's very,
Picard has left a bad taste in our mouth.
Well, and it just and, she's a very different character in this. I do not know where she is. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
She's enigmatic, to put it kindly.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we got a bit of a handle on Forrest, but she's a cipher right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only thing is, like you said, she's got some sort of idol worship for Forrest.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm glad we're at this point. We're at the halfway point of the series, and I am so glad that you guys are enjoying it. I hope you guys are enjoying our talk through of it. And I really encourage people to watch this show. I was telling them earlier that I had a meeting for work, and I had the background up in my Zoom call for devs, and I had got lots of questions on it, and they're going to be listening to our podcast as well.
Yay.
So I hope.
Hi there.
Hi, everyone. I hope that you guys go out there and find shows like this that flew under the radar and watch them. I'm such a champion of that.
Perfect. Good. Well, all
All
right.
right, it's all you,
Yes,
Jesse.
so thank you guys for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed this. Karen, you want to give us where they can reach you if they need to talk to you?
Sure. I am at Elevaria on Twitter, and there's a link in my bio to my blog, which will be updated soon.
And
TBD.
yes, and Lou?
Yes, you can find me on YouTube at Lou's Reviews or on Twitter at Lou W. Sitzmo or Steam King Podcast. And these episodes will be up as a dump. So when we get done the series, I'll put all 4 episodes up for everybody to listen to.
Yeah, I like that idea that that's going to be our new tradition. We did that with Midnight Mass.
Mhm.
We're doing it with this. And I do think since we all have HBO Plus, I think Station 11 is what we're going to do next when we finish
Okay.
this. I think especially I haven't read the book. Lou is reading the book now. Karen hasn't done either.
Nothing.
So I think that will be another fun episode to discuss.
Mhm.
And so anyway, I am at Jesse Jackson DFW. I hope you guys, thank you for joining us on this journey, and we will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Stay real. And scene.
The proceeding has been a JKL Media production.